Happy Monday. It's game week. We are live in Studio B. This is your day-to-day BYU Sports play-by-play. I'm Spencer Linton, teamed up with Jerem Jordan. Because it is a Monday, and it is college football season, and a build-up to BYU's Week 1 game, yeah, it's time for another Matich Monday.
Back, baby.
ESPN's Trevor Matich is back with us on BYUSN. Trevor, welcome, my friend. BYU just 5 days away from game number 1. What are your emotions like this week?
Can't wait to get the season started. I mean, I love the changes that they made in the offseason from a standpoint of the recruits, the transfers, the attitude. I can't wait to see how it comes together.
Certainly the biggest question walking into the game is who's going to be the quarterback, Jake Retzlaff or Gary Bohannon. What are your thoughts on who BYU could or should run with in game number 1?
I think both guys have things that they can do well. It's interesting that the competition has lasted this long, because that's either a matter of both guys are playing exceptionally well or neither guy has really stepped up. And so we're going to find out against Southern Illinois, first of all, who starts, and second of all, how well they're going to perform, because Southern Illinois last year was one of the best FCS defenses in the country. This will be a good test for whoever BYU rolls out there first at quarterback.
ESPN college football insider Trevor Matich is back on BYUSN. Trevor, what are you hoping to see? Or frankly, what do you need to see from BYU against Southern Illinois to make you think BYU made the right offseason changes?
I need to see dominance at the line of scrimmage on both sides of the ball and depth at the line of scrimmage, especially on the defensive side. I mean, they brought in some really good young guys. They've got a really good mix of seniors with young, inexperienced guys on that defensive line. And what they're going to need to do is not just dominate with the first line, but that second line that rotates in needs to show that they can play as well. Because that was a big problem in the second half of last season when they got guys banged up front, then they just couldn't stop the run. And not just because the backups had a big drop-off from the starters, but because new guys that had to go in and play in a starter's role then had the second line coming in that were a big drop-off from them on the second line. So we need to see that depth on the defensive front. And on the offensive line, they've had big talented guys. They've had guys that are good enough to get into NFL teams, NFL camps, make the NFL. But they didn't perform like they could have performed, I thought, up to their potential the last couple of years. I want to see the offensive line fire off the ball. I want to see them play angry, and I want to see them finish plays. In other words, you keep blocking until the whistle, or you keep chasing somebody, looking for someone to block until the whistle. Those two things are going to be critical for the success of this team. And no matter what you think about the competition at the FCS level with Southern Illinois, those things are habits that they need to establish and prove.
To your point, BYU was 111th in yards per carry last year, despite having what looks like the Chiefs starting left tackle and Kingsley Suamataia. So sometimes one guy doesn't make the difference. You have to have 5 working together like you talked about. BYU a 16.5-point favorite against Southern Illinois. What would be an acceptable margin of victory to you?
Jeremy, one. Just get the win. I mean, we saw
We're at that point, Trev?
Yeah, we could do a half point. I mean, maybe they can just slice it like that. SMU went up to play Nevada in the opener a couple of days ago, and SMU was a 4-touchdown favorite, and they needed a furious, near miraculous comeback in the fourth quarter to beat the Wolfpack, and they got the win. So right now, get the win, get the new players acclimated, and especially get the new quarterback acclimated. I'd love to see BYU utterly dominate. I'd love to see them come out in midseason form. But as long as they get the win, now they go to next week.
Let's stay with the SMU theme, Trevor, because according to ESPN's Football Power Index, the Cougars have all of a 19% chance to win in Dallas against the Mustangs on Friday night in early September. How do you feel about BYU's chances in that game now that you have seen SMU struggle but survive against Nevada?
Spencer, it got more difficult, I think, with the way SMU won that game in Nevada, because if they just would have gone out there and taken care of business and beat them by 4 touchdowns, then we wouldn't really know their state of mind. They were supposed to win. Nevada right now is not a good team. But the fact that they almost lost that game gives their head coach, Rhett Lashley, the ability to do what Nick Saban did for so many years in Alabama, which is win the game, but play poorly. You can coach them hard. They will take the hard coaching because they don't think they're great. They didn't dominate the opposing team and come out on fire for the next few games. And so this is the SMU that BYU will face. And do keep this in mind that last year SMU had one of the best defenses in the country. They won the American Conference. They bring an experienced quarterback in Preston Stone and depth at quarterback, by the way, into the ACC this year, where a lot of people think that SMU will make some noise. So I think it just got harder for BYU to beat SMU based on the way I expect SMU to prepare over the next week.
Yeah, it could be that way, right? Oklahoma State last year, we were saying they're no good at the beginning of the year, losing to South Alabama and struggling out of the gate. Well, in conference, you can rebound and perform, and then you go from there. So we'll see what happens coming up next week on Friday at SMU for BYU. Regarding the Big 12 right now, certainly Utah, the preseason pick to win it, Kansas State right there. A lot of parity, a lot of conversation about a lot of good teams in the league. Who are your top 5 teams in the Big 12 right now, and where do you put BYU?
You know, this is tough. I think the Big 12 will be the most fun conference of all to watch the conference championship race. I mean, different members of the media and different pundits have picked 9 different Big 12 teams to win the Big 12 this year. That's how deep it goes. So, you know, it's hard to say who the best team is in the Big 12. It's even hard to say who the best 5 teams are. But if you ask me to pick those 5 teams, I would say Utah, Kansas State, Oklahoma State, Iowa State, and Kansas. And BYU plays 4 of those, right? And so BYU right now has a lot to prove. And on paper, they've gotten better. And I think on the field in practice and everything else, BYU has gotten better. But now they have to prove it. And if you had to ask me to slot them into the Big 12 right now, I'd start them at 12 in the 16-team Big 12, and then let's see if they can move up from there.
ESPN college football insider and analyst Trevor Matich back on BYUSN for another Matich Monday. Okay, aside from BYU, which college football teams nationwide are you most interested to watch play this weekend, starting from Thursday and running through next Monday?
Clemson, Georgia is fascinating to me because Georgia is a pretty heavy favorite, but Clemson has one of the best defenses in the country. And if their offense can improve, and I think they'll be better at wide receiver this year, that's kind of been their bugaboo in recent years. The quarterbacks haven't looked great, but part of the reason is that the receivers haven't looked great. With Antonio Williams coming back, I think they'll be pretty good. That game fascinates me. USC, LSU being played in Las Vegas fascinates me because they're both the same team. They're both replacing a Heisman-winning quarterback, and they're both have a defense that has a new defensive staff. Both defenses were miserable in their performance last year. And so you've got great offense, theoretically, because both quarterbacks coming in replacing the Heisman winners are good, and defenses that have a ton to prove. They're both the same team. I can't wait to see which one steps up, because the one that steps up, especially the one that shows that their defense has improved, has a chance to make the playoff.
It's a 12-team playoff, certainly a new era in college football. Very exciting with that. Also, we have headset communication to the quarterback or probably the middle linebacker, like the NFL. We have tablets on the sidelines, a 2-minute timeout. Don't call it 2-minute warning, they say. Which of those adjustments, those latter 3, do you think will have the biggest impact in the product on the field this year?
I think the communication, the radio communication. And it's interesting to me to see how the quarterbacks perform, because I think the quarterbacks will get another advantage over college defenses with this radio communication, which may or may not help them at the next level, because the communication cuts off with 15 seconds to go on the play clock. That means that the coach can call the play, the quarterback calls the play, the offense deploys, the coach sees the deployment of the defense, and he can tell the quarterback, okay, hit number 87, hit John over here, hit Joe over there, and he can do that, and the quarterback doesn't really have to read it. So defenses will have to disguise a bit more, but I think that's going to be interesting to watch. How good is the quarterback really? But the other thing is that I think it hurts the defense, because if the offense goes fast, or if they do a sugar huddle, a short huddle, and then deploy to the line of scrimmage quickly, and line up and snap the ball fast, the offense can have the communication with the quarterback, but the defense doesn't have time to have that communication, because then it will come in probably to the linebacker. The linebacker would have to communicate it to everybody else. Then the defense would have to line up. Well, the offense will snap the ball already. So the defense has to be ready to go with their normal signals against a potential up-tempo offense. So I don't know how much it'll help the defense, but the offense, it's going to be really interesting to see how it goes.
Trevor, Texas Tech football and head coach Joey McGuire announced earlier this week that players and their injuries will largely be announced at the weekly press conference and then updated 45 minutes before kickoff. This is more of an NFL approach. This is kind of unheard of in college football. Are you in favor of what Texas Tech is doing? And do you hope that maybe more of college football institutes a policy like this?
I think it should be mandatory in college football to release injury information. You've got HIPAA laws and things like that, but there are ways around that. You know, in the NFL, you've got collective bargaining. You'd have to figure out a way to get around it. The reason is that sports gambling now is pervasive. It's just everywhere. And you save the players, but not save the players, you diminish pressure on the players to give up insider injury information to people that may then funnel it to gamblers if everybody already knows the insider injury information. You know, if your quarterback has a knee that's hurting and nobody knows how bad it is, they might go to the backup long snapper and say, hey, how was the quarterback practicing? Well, he was limping around and you know, he didn't take all the first team reps. And well, that matters. And that communication and that temptation will be there. If you just announce, okay, quarterback, knee, questionable, okay, then it takes away some potential problems. I think it should be mandatory.
This would make Spencer's job a lot easier pregame when he's on the field reporting on who's in, who's out. That list can be lengthy at times. Let's ask you about Zach Wilson with the Broncos, Jaren Hall with the Vikings. These two had outstanding performances in their final exhibition showings. Hall is the starter, Wilson trying to vie for a backup spot there. Hall, of course, trying to be the backup in Minnesota. What do you make of the chances of these guys to be perhaps the backups for each of their teams?
I think there's a pretty good chance both of them will make the active roster, in part because of how they performed in the last preseason game. When you look at Jaren Hall, if the Vikings try to waive him in the final cutdown day and then sign him back to the practice squad, pretty good chance someone's going to pick him up because of how impressive he was in the preseason. And it's the same way with Zach Wilson. I mean, Zach Wilson still has the talent of a top draft pick, and it just hasn't come together for him yet. And if the Broncos try to sneak him onto the practice squad, pretty good chance they'll just lose him altogether. So for different reasons, I think that they both have a good chance to make the team. You know, for Zach, they may trade him. There are teams that, you know, when they have a quarterback injured, they start to get desperate for someone to come in and play for them. But also there are some teams whose backup situations are not great. And both Hall and Wilson are right now listed as the third string quarterback. But the number twos at places like the Packers, the Chargers, the Saints, the Commanders, I think Jaren and Zach would be an upgrade at the backup quarterback position at places like that. So I believe they both will make a roster and they both will have an opportunity to continue to develop their careers.
There's no other way to kick off a college football season, or at least the coverage of it, than with a Matich Monday. Trevor Matich of ESPN back on BYUSN. Hey, and by the way, we're so glad that you're a part of our program and part of the 1984 Roundtable show that just aired for the first time recently on BYU TV. Outstanding stuff, Trevor. We appreciate the time as always.
Thank you. And Jared, please say hi to Paige for me.
I will. Thank you. Appreciate it.
The fabulous Trevor Matich of ESPN. Always bringing it. He's mid-season form.
We have a guy that covers the sport on ESPN, on SportsCenter, on College Game Day stuff, like radio, all that. Are you kidding me? Trevor's awesome, man. He's been with us for a long time.